Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Petal Talk podcast. My name is Allison Crowder. I am your host, and today I am joined with Amanda, who is a boss lady, mom, hustler, cool girl, and we are going to talk all things momming, entrepreneurship, business owner life, sugaring, beauty, and I'm so excited to have you. Hi, welcome to Petal Talk, where skincare meets soul care. Today, and I'm so excited to chat and give us a little spiel. Tell us a little bit about you. Give us a couple minutes.
Okay, well, I'll jump right in. I am the owner of Mama Bear Sugaring Studio. We have 5 locations, around 35 staff. I'm a mom. I have 3 little ones. 2 are not so little anymore. One's 19. I have a senior this year, and then I have a 9-year-old. I'm a wife. My husband served in the military. Cool. We've moved around. We actually had our first child when we were 17.
Oh my gosh.
We are both high school dropouts. So we have a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
We've just been doing the thing. And so it's been really cool. I didn't know what I wanted to do growing up. I was pregnant at 17. So that came as like, what am I going to do with my life? And my mom was like, just go to cosmetology school. Mm-hmm. Give it a go. I'm like, all right, I'll try this.
Right.
So I did that.
Okay, so let's start there. So let's start. So amazing story. And also thank you and your husband for your service and all of that, because I can only imagine how hard it is moving so often and that military lifestyle. So thank you so much. We are so grateful for your family, for your sacrifices. As far as you, let's talk about your upbringing. You were little. I always ask this question. Were you the girl playing with Barbies? Were you playing with Barat dolls? Were you cutting their hair, ready to go? Like, what did you always want to do beauty? I feel like a lot of girls in this world have that story of like, the first time I cut my Barbie's hair, I just knew I was meant to do this.
Yeah, no.
What did that moment look like? Or if none, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, no, I was a total tomboy. I was like, playing outside, building forts, like getting into trouble.
Yeah.
Like, I like doing stuff like that. So
Sure.
I was always really like outdoorsy and not really like into beauty stuff at all. Yeah. So like having a 9-year-old now who's like, I gotta get my skincare, I gotta do my nighttime routine. I'm like,
You're what?
Yeah. So then I was like, all right, I'm pregnant with my second child, going to cosmetology school because I'm like, what else am I going to do? I don't really know. We're trying to figure out being literal teenage parents.
Yes.
And so
Remind me, how many years apart are they?
They're 2 years apart.
Okay.
My oldest, too.
Okay. And so at this time you are done with high school and you do not...
No,
you
I
just like
dropped
go do your
out
own
of
thing.
high
Okay.
school. I pregnant at 17. We moved to Maine.
Oh, wow.
Hilarious, crazy story. We moved cross country, no driver's license.
Stop.
With MapQuest directions. So,
You're kidding.
So
I'm
like 8 months pregnant. My mom moved up there. We followed her. That's where I went to cosmetology school.
Okay.
While I was pregnant with my second one, we did McDonald's jobs
Sure.
and like all kinds of, retail jobs and things like that. Mind you, we're 17, 18 years old. My mom moves back to Texas. That's where we're originally from.
So you drove from Texas to Maine?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And then back to Maine.
That's crazy.
I mean, back to Texas. She moved away. We literally lived in a hotel for 2 months or about a month while I finished cosmetology school with our little 1-year-old baby, and I'm 7 months pregnant.
Yeah.
I got to get through with this cosmetology thing.
Yeah.
All right. So I graduate. We move back to Texas while I'm 8 months pregnant, driving across the country. Super fun.
Yeah, crazy.
And then I get there and I'm, a young mom. I'm I worked my first job in a hair salon. I did
so you
clipper
did cosmetology.
cuts. Yeah,
so you did full cos. Okay.
I did clipper cuts and hair stuff, and then I finally got a real job in the industry. It was my first experience with facials, and I started doing microdermabrasions, and
nice.
it was a full service salon in Dallas. I loved her. Her name was France, and she was from France.
Stop. That's so
and
fun.
She's where I learned how to do sugaring. And so while I worked at that salon, I was able to do everything. I did nails. I did microdermabrasions, facials, hair, and sugaring. And she taught me how to do it. And
What year is this?
Let's see. What year is it?
Because people don't know a lot about sugaring.
Yeah, it was probably
in comparison to like wax, right? Like that's their first thought process.
8 or 9.
Okay, so that arguably is like very new for sure. Like when did sugaring become more mainstream?
Yeah, so it's actually an ancient tradition.
Okay,
it's been around since the ancient Egyptians. It was really popular in Europe. And so if you talk to anybody from like Middle Eastern cultures over in Europe, they were doing this technique for a long time.
Okay.
It got more popular here in America probably around the 80s, 90s.
Okay.
But it was only in like the big metropolitan areas like New York,
really
California.
Advanced,
Yes. And so in Dallas, we were like one salon of a few that did sugaring.
Yeah.
And so I really just fell in love with it. It was instant results.
Yeah.
Like I had been doing facials, I had been doing hair. For me, I liked that it was like instant results. Everybody left so happy, so confident.
Yeah.
With facials, it's like you got to do a whole series to start seeing results. And with hair, I felt like, I would get not quite the right shade of blonde.
Yes.
And there's like,
too many variables.
It's so nuanced and so like, too many variables. So I was like, this I love. It's instant results. Everybody's like, either all the hair is gone or it's not.
Right.
So I kind of quit doing everything else. My husband joined the military, and that's really when our life kind of started going in a really positive, like exciting direction. We're like, what we're going to do with our lives.
Right.
And
you're so young at this time too.
Yeah.
Still, like
we're
so
still
young.
20.
Yeah.
We're 20. So he goes around to like all these military offices. Like nobody will take him except the Air Force because he is a high school dropout with GED. Sure. And so he had this really good recruiter, and she's like, I think I can get you in. So that was a whole thing. We went through lots of struggles with him trying to get in, and then he finally does. We moved to Arkansas with our 2 young children. There is where I experienced like my first time being an entrepreneur, like truly. I rented a room at a gym, and I did, again, all kinds of like facials. I did hair extensions sometimes, and I did sugaring. And so from there, I just like built up a clientele, and then eventually ended up in another space with a massage therapist, and we each like shared, like she had a room, I had a room, and we had a little lobby. Yeah. From there, we were there in the military for 6 years. So during that time, I'm a mom. I'm juggling, trying to like learn what that's about. Yeah. How do I advertise? How do I build a website? Like, how do I service clients and payment methods? And like got to play around with stuff. And then my husband was coming to the end of his enlistment, and he got picked up by the FAA. So he's an air traffic controller now over in Daytona. And so we knew we were going to have to move to Florida. So I was like, okay, at this time I'm pregnant again. Yeah. There's a 9-year gap between our 2 oldest and our youngest. So surprise baby. And
surprise, but so special.
So like, oh my gosh, it's so different having had children young and then have them when I'm a little bit older, and just it's been a whole different experience. So it's been amazing. But so we know, okay, we're moving to Florida now. I'm pregnant. He has to move here before I do. So I'm like, my kids are like trying to finish their little bit of school.
And like, where are we going to live? And whatever. Yeah.
Yes. And so we have, at this point, Riley was 6 months old. Okay. My husband moves here. We have the 2 older. And so I trained somebody, like, not knowing, like, I could have probably sold my clientele to her. Like, I just wasn't business savvy at that point. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to leave my clients high and dry. And I'm so excited to see her now still doing what she did. Good. But I trained her on how to do sugaring. She took a lot of my clients, and then we moved here. Yeah. Same thing. I kind of started.
So what year was that? What year did you move here?
We moved here. It was 8 years ago. Okay. So whatever that was.
Yeah. I'm like 20.
I learned math. So
16 or something. I don't know. Something like that. Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So we get here, and I kind of like, all right, what am I going to do? My husband's doing his thing. With air traffic control, we're just trying to get settled, and I'm like, all right, I like want to get back in, making some money. Like, I
like to work.
I like to work. I do. And so at this point, Riley's getting close to a year. And so I did the same thing. I rented a room, a hair salon, and just...
Is this in Daytona?
In Daytona, or in Port Orange.
Okay.
And I just start building it up. You know, then the clientele just grows and grows.
Are you doing everything at this time still? Hair,
I was still
skin?
doing like microdermabrasions because I had a microdermabrasion machine. Sure. Just as like some extra side things, but mainly just sugaring.
Okay.
Yep. And then so from there, it just, the clientele builds and builds, and I'm like, I need another person. I need more people to take clients. So that's kind of was the start of Mama Bear. But originally it was called the Sweet Spot. So then I got served a cease and desist, and I was like, first I was like, what's a cease and desist? Like I was that not naive. Yeah, I was like, and they were in Seattle, Washington.
Oh my gosh.
Like, literally
opposite ends.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so, and they did the same thing, sugaring. And I was like, okay, well, I got to change my name. This is after, like, I had done website. I had marketing material. Like, I was...
For a long time, too.
Yeah. It had probably been, like, 8 months at this point. And so I was like, all right, I got to change my name. Obviously, that was like a devastating blow. I was like, I can't change my name. Yeah. I had dreamed up the Sweet Spot forever.
Right.
But I was like, all right, pivot. Let's.
You got to.
You got to pivot. Yeah. And so I changed the business name. We started growing.
What was the thought behind the business name?
I had seen a slogan before that said, Papa Bear likes Mama Bear. And I was like, Mama Bear, like I'm a mom, like most of my clientele are moms. And it just
made sense.
It just stuck with me. And so I started playing around with it, like, you know, asking my family, like, what do you think about this name? And so it just stuck. And so I went with it. And then
I love it. I think it's perfect.
My attorney, who I love, shout out Melody Lankford.
We love her.
She has trademarked the business for me. And that process started literally like 7 years ago. We just got the trademark this past year.
You're kidding.
No, it has been like it's a process.
Yeah.
And there was, another company named Mama Bear. And so it was a process. But I'm glad we stuck it out because it finally paid off.
Now it's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so exciting. Okay. So you open your first building and that looks like what? Is it like another bigger suite? Because I know that there are suites that you can get that are like pretty big. Yeah. Or do you decide I'm going to get like my first like actual like rented building. I'm going to build it out. I'm going to get the sinks and the whole thing. Or like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So I just find an office space type that's already built out. I knew that like I bootstrapped the whole thing. Like I never took out loans to start up my business. We just, we need a little bit of money out of savings or whatever. We just figured out how to make it work. So it was this little 2-room office with the front room and a bathroom. Yeah. And we literally just moved out of this space this past week into a new, bigger space in Port Orange, which is super exciting.
Yeah, congrats.
But also kind of nostalgic and weird.
Yeah.
We had since then expanded into another suite next door, so we had expanded that location, and now we're in a new location. But so my mom moves from Texas. She's like helping with the kids.
Oh, nice.
She lives with us for a bit, and career change. I'm like, go to school to do this. So then she goes to esthetician school. Shout out Cindy Lee. I love her. She has an amazing little esthetician school in Daytona Beach.
Oh, nice.
And so my mom went to school there and started working at the Port Orange location as well. During that time, I'm driving to Orlando literally like 3 or 4 times a week because my daughter did cheerleading, the oldest. I'm going out to Apopka all the time.
Yeah.
And so I see Lake Mary all the time as I'm passing by, and I'm thinking like, okay, I was the first sugaring person to open a sugaring place in Central Florida. Yeah. I'm like, how is this not here? Whenever I was first like getting into it and like starting to grow the business, I'm like, how do they not have sugaring here?
Right.
Like, it's Florida. Everyone's always in a bathing suit.
Yeah,
this
totally.
is wild. So I'm like, we need a second location. So I just start looking around. Again, I'm like so new to entrepreneurship and business ownership. And I'm like, how do I even find a lease space? And like working out all of that. Now I'm like,
it's easy now.
Yeah. But in the beginning, I'm like, okay, like how do I negotiate a lease? How do I find the right space? And I've always, even to this day, I find spaces that are already built out. Basically to work for, because I'm not going to try and drop $40,000, $50,000 on building out a space when I can find one that's doable. Anyway, so we find Lake Mary. We open Lake Mary.
So that's number 2.
That was number 2.
Okay, nice.
One of my first employees moves out here. She is doing the thing out here. I'm coming out here because I'm driving 45 minutes like every day. We end up just starting putting systems in place, procedures.
That's like
policies.
the hardest part.
And
like all those details are so important.
Yes.
And that's something that kind of us in the last year, we've really focused on, really all of 2024, all of those types of things, policies, procedures. What do formal documents look like? What do whatever look like? And it's something that when you're so small, you don't think about it because it's just you and one other person. And it's like, you want time off, you just ask, or you want whatever, you just ask. But then when you start to get, a bigger team, it's like, oh no, you do need procedure because then it matters and it, trickles into every other element of the business. So I totally feel for you because that's like it's a big year going through all of that.
Yeah, it was. And just like as we've grown, documenting out everything, making sure that we have, from the job descriptions to, like you said, just legal documents and all of the training manuals and things like that. And really, it would not be possible without the amazing, like, women team members that we have. Like, I am so incredibly grateful for all of them. Whether they're still with the company or not with the company, like, looking back, I'm just so grateful for everybody's just input and everybody's collaboration and willingness to like see my vision and my mission, which has always been to just empower people, make them feel good, make them feel confident, seen. Whether that started out with the clients, that was my mission, make sure that people have a place that they can come in, feel seen, make them feel good while they're here, leave feeling confident, right? And so now I do that with my team, and that's my mission is shifted so that they can now do that for the clients, right? Where I am now making sure that they feel that way in their jobs. Yeah,
they're like your clients now. That's what matters.
And so I've given them a lot of freedom and flexibility to help in those processes, and they really have. Like, they've taken the initiative to, like, I'm like, all right, write down everything that you do. Like, let's build this out. And, we did that over the last 7 years. And so now we have something that's easily replicable. Obviously,
so
now we have 5 locations.
So now you have like your blueprint. So then after like Mary, you're like, we got this golden ticket almost of what works. What happens next? You just copy, paste? Like, what does that look like? Yeah,
so we have all of that built out internally. My mom's was still working for me.
Nice.
She's like,
literal
my daughter
Mama Bear.
Can't be my boss, okay? This isn't going to work.
She's like working with you.
So she opened the first, we can't call it a franchise because we're not franchised, but it is a partnership.
Sister location. Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's funny you say that. We do. We have sister locations with Port Orange and Ormond. And then we have Lake Mary and Oviedo. And then we drop a DeLand most recently.
Okay, nice.
Right in the middle. But, so she makes an investment and opens like the first one that's like not just mine. And so we co-own that. I have, she runs it though. Yeah. That one's hers. That one's her baby.
And that one is located in
Ormond Beach.
Okay, nice.
And so it's about 10 miles from the Port Orange location, but it hits all the Palm Coast clients and all of the Ormond Beach, and then Port Orange hits all the New Smyrna Beach and Port Orange clients. So then copy paste, and we just open up Ormond, and then kind of I'm not gonna lie, I think it was around the height of the pandemic. So we opened Oviedo like that year. And so that was a little bit wild. Again, we're like, we need Lake Mary to have a sister location. Like, we need something, as that one has overflow of clients, like, we need a place where they can go when we're fully booked out here. And so...
And even just split up the demographic, like, allow them to not have to travel from Oviedo or not have to travel from, like, downtown Orlando, you know, come all the way up to Lake Mary.
Yeah, exactly. And so we opened that one up. Again, copy paste. Obviously, there's ups and downs though during those periods.
So talk to me a little bit about this, because this is something that I am really passionate about and something I've learned a lot about this year is, and you hit the nail right on the head, of hiring people and finding people who have the same vision. That is something that we take really seriously too. And like I've said this on other podcasts, but really not being interested in like quick burn and turn types of people. What advice do you have, or like what is your thought process around hiring? Is there something that you're always looking for? Is there something that you're asking a question that you know that if they say this right answer, then they're probably going to be a good fit? Like, how do you find a ginormous team? Like, we have less than 10 people, and I find myself being like, this team is huge. Like, how do you have, you said you have like 30 team members or something like that?
Yeah, between the 5 locations.
Yeah, like how do you scale that? How do you find the right people? What questions are you asking? What is your advice in doing that? Because that's a lot of people when you really think about it. It might not, 30, whatever, it might not seem like a lot, but it's 30 families you're supporting. That's a lot of people.
That right there is everything to me.
Yeah.
Like, and I talk to the girls about it all the time. I'm like, you guys being able to support your families from what we've created here is like, oh, it gets me. Like, it's beautiful. It's crazy. But yeah, for the locations that I own or co-own all of them, but I only oversee 3 of the locations. My mom oversees 2 of them. When we're hiring, I still always interview. Yeah. I like to get a read on people. Yeah. I like to feel, can they make good eye contact? Mm-hmm. Are they honest? Do they have that, like, they have to care about people. Mm-hmm. Because in this industry, you know, that has to be the main priority. Mm-hmm. And so if I can feel that they just really want to pour into other people, kind of that service mindset. I feel like as a leader and as somebody working within the company, you should always have that, like, how can I serve others?
Absolutely.
And so if you find people like that, and 2, I like to find people that are just starting out. Like, almost everyone that we hire is right out of esthetician school. Yeah. I go, hey, Cindy Lee.
Who's your top 5? Send them my way. Yeah.
And
it's sometimes easier that way.
Yeah. And then 2, just seeing like something kind of underneath the surface. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of the girls have like worked their way up from receptionist to studio director, and it's different for different positions within the company, because too, in this industry, it's really common, like, people want to be their own boss. They want to go rent a room. They want to start their own thing. Yeah. That's okay. That's fine. I know that when I hire an esthetician to do sugaring, they're likely not going to be with me forever. Sure. Yeah. If you go to any of the sugaring places around here, they probably worked for us.
Yeah.
First.
Totally. Yeah.
And that's because we're the first in the Central Florida, and a lot of people have
you do hire right out of school, and most places don't. Yeah. And there's a lot of girls that we come in here as well, and they're like, I've had my license for a year, and everyone wants at least 3 years of experience. Like, I can't get a job if I don't. And it's such a bummer sometimes, because you feel so sad for them, and it's like, like, you know, you want to be able to be so supportive and give them that first chance, but at the same time, it's like, I can't hire every single person like right out of school, right?
Yeah. It just depends on the business model.
Absolutely.
So for us, we train everyone too.
I was going to ask what you do for education.
I mean, I think I've hired maybe 1 or 2 people that actually know how to sugar. We train every single person in a thorough training, like 4 weeks.
Oh, yeah, you got
to. Yeah. And we continue training after that. So not only, it's mutually beneficial. Like, we teach them a skill that they would otherwise have to pay to learn how to do. We give them clients. They don't have to go out and market themselves. They don't have to go and hustle and build up the business. They just get on the bucks and work
and so nice
learn how this industry works. learn how to do sugaring. I'm so incredibly grateful. I reached out to the woman who taught me, and I was like, you wouldn't believe, like, the skill that you gave me has not only impacted my life so incredibly, but, dozens and dozens and dozens of women now. Yeah. And so, people come and go. Sure. I wish them well, right. But some of them really do stay. Like, a lot of our, especially like the studio directors, 4 or 5 years, 3 years, and our front desk, and a lot of specialists too. Like, some of them have been with me 3-4 years. Yeah. Do I want them to stay forever? Yes. I love them so very much, and I try and I hope that, and I know that they know that. I pour everything I can into them. But some of them go, and that's okay. Right. And so that's just part of this industry.
It all happens when it's supposed to, and it works out how it's supposed to, and you get excited to see them grow, but at the same time it is like, but like, I want you forever, but also like, I'm proud of you, right? Because we have experienced similar with, not so much with just like leaving, but like having babies or whatever. And it's like, obviously, like, I want you to stay and work here forever. Like, take the baby to work, like, come back. Like, I want that.
I would be like, bring your baby to work.
No, literally. No, but bring the baby. But also, understanding that people have lives outside of here, and sometimes that doesn't always line up, but what's meant to be will always find its way in the end. Yeah. And, we sleep good at night knowing that we did the right thing, and we choose the right decision, and we are honest and kind, and every business is always like that. Yeah. And so, being confident in those decisions is important, because when you do the right thing, then you get the right, it's karma. When you do the right thing, you get the right thing. So
I'm glad you bring that up about people having lives outside of business. That is one of the benefits and the things that we say. When you work here, we respect that so much. Like, I have women that go on maternity leave and come back from maternity leave, and I'm like, yes, you can bring your infant until they start running around and crying, as long as they're laying in the car seat, because you need to work a little bit. And like, we close early on all major holidays, or we're completely closed. Like, I have children. I want to be at their things, and I want my staff to be able to do that same thing.
I totally agree.
If you request a day off because you need to be at something, you're going to get it. I'm not going to deny that.
It builds morale of, they care about me. You want to go to your kids' Halloween parade? Go. Yes. You want to go to like Christmas
just give me some
brunch?
Notice,
but absolutely. But like, I want you to be able to enjoy your life. And I think on the flip side, I look at it if like, if I had the children's Halloween parade,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, what? Like, you're telling me I can't go to my kids' parade? Like,
right.
I don't know if I want to work for someone who doesn't see the value in my family time to or like, that makes me feel like you don't maybe care. That makes me feel like you, only see me as like a dollar sign. Like, that doesn't make me feel good. So I would never want to feel like that. So in turn, obviously give me a heads up so I can just prepare accordingly. But at the same time, like, that's what's so beautiful about our industry is the flexibility and you can kind of have it all, because you can work as much or as little as you want in this industry. You can make as much money or as little money as you want, because you do have that flexibility. You're either a go-getter or you're not, or you fall somewhere in between. And so being able to meet them where they're at is the best part of this job. Yeah. Is to be able to do both. Yep. So, in talking with having a lot of girls, as we grow in, we are in the more final stages kind of our copy paste protocol, because that's what we want to do too. Yeah. Like, we want to do that, but in that we have to find the right people who see the vision. Yeah. Because it's really hard if you don't have that part of the equation.
Yeah. And it's hard too, because for the longest time, I was doing the job too. Right.
Do you see guests anymore?
Owner operator. Type situation. And no, I don't sugar anymore, but I do train almost all the staff. I have other team members that help train staff, but I still like to make sure they are trained really well. Absolutely. So I train them. But yeah, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's so fun, and it's such a blessing that we're able to.
You can easily get spread too thin. That is where you have to have a good team, and that's where you have to have good communication and good systems and good protocols in place, because our shops can run without us there.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that is the goal: is having good people that can make sure that the shop is running the way that it should be when you're not there. And that's all about having those systems, having the policies and the protocols, and then having a good team that make sure that all of that gets implemented and, you know, really like has the vision that you have and will treat your clients the way that you would treat them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I always say, I want you to make the decision that you think I would make. Like, I want you to feel empowered in, if I'm not here or if something is going on, that you feel really confident in, like, you know, what do you like, but having that ownership of like, well, what do you think? Yeah. What is like the right answer? Like, what do you, you work here too. Like, what do you think I would say? Like, what coming to me with a problem, I always give them the chance first to then give me the solution.
Yeah.
What's the problem? Okay. Fill in the blank. Okay. What are your thoughts immediately? And then they'll kind of walk through all these solutions, and I'm like, yeah, like, you know what you're doing. Exactly. You just need the confidence and the empowerment to feel like you can handle that situation. And that comes in just leadership and in time and length and licensure and just like professional experience. And I'm happy to pour into them with that.
And there's almost never a mistake that can't be fixed.
I totally agree. I say that all the time. Yeah. Everything is fixable.
Yes. And absolutely. So whenever, I think, just having the ownership of, if somebody does something incorrectly, it's because I didn't train them well enough. It's because I didn't give them the correct information.
Something wasn't clear.
Yes. Yeah. And in rare circumstances, it's just that they don't care or whatever. And then you know.
And then that's a different conversation.
You know, right. Exactly. But most of the time, if you give them, empower them to make a decision, to make the mistakes, then you will see that people will step up to the plate.
Yeah.
And
you want them to stay.
Do.
And you want them to grow. And it's almost like, I'd rather you make the mistake and grow from it and stay than make the mistake and get flustered and quit.
Yeah.
Like, I would way rather you pour into them, because I don't want to have new people all the time because something's small. Like, I would way rather be like, remember that one time you did that crazy thing, than have to start over all the time, right? Like, that's exhausting. I'm not interested in that.
So y'all are wanting to open multiple locations.
Oh my gosh, yes. We talk about this all the time, and I'm sure Ryan's back there just gagging because I talk about it all the time. But I have so many places and ideas and aesthetic and just so... What I'm so grateful about my job is I am not an owner in the sense of... It's Jenna and Ryan's show, and they let me run a lot of it, and I'm grateful for that, because I get to make a lot of decisions without having the stress of every other part of it, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm grateful for is
cool.
It's really cool. Yeah, you should try. But I get to come in and say, like, you know, because I'm licensed as well, and you know they are not, and so being able to bridge that gap between this is what works and this isn't from a technical standpoint, but then they're able to be like logistics of finances and licensure and legality. Yeah. But the risk, what I'm grateful for in that, the risk is they don't really see a lot of risks, and they're willing to try pretty much anything at least once. And so the question comes up like, well, why don't you just do your own thing? And I'm like, no, I do get to do my own thing without the risk of a lot of it. Right. And they let me grow in that.
And the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that nobody gets to see.
Right.
I mean, it really can. There was a few years where I literally was in so much like stress that I developed a nerve pain in my face that lasted like 2 years.
You hear about that all the time, though.
Like no sleep, like losing my mind. My poor family for a few.
And it's like, don't you want to be like me? Hello, like don't you want to be a business owner?
2 weeks, like my hair's falling out. It's fine. Everything's fine. But it's so true. Like there's certain people that are just more driven towards that, like creating something and like just seeing something through, because it's one thing to like have an idea, but it's another thing to make the idea happen. And so a lot of times when people come to me with an idea, I'm like, that's amazing. How are we going to make that happen? Because there's a lot of steps that go into like
so much.
One decision requires so much. And I am also like let's make it happen. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Like, let's open another location. Let's do, you know, but now that I have done it so many times, I know which questions to ask. Yeah. I know, like, you know, what is risky in a good way and what is risky in not a good way.
Yeah, totally.
And so, yeah, I'm excited to hear and watch what goes on with you guys, because it's crazy. And
it is
like,
crazy.
So for me, I'm like thinking, what's next?
So what is next? So you have your 5, and then what? You have 20. You have in different states. You go back to Texas. Like, what is next?
Yeah. So I think about this all the time, because I always try and be like the dumbest person in the room. So I try and get around people that are smarter than me. I do CEO exchange and go and we do a 4-hour meeting once a month and just talk business with other business owners not in this industry at all. We talk a lot about exit strategy and pivoting and things like that. And so, you know, I feel like I go back and forth a lot. I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? I want to franchise the business. And that has been something I've been working on for a long time.
Its own beast, too. That's a big,
it is its own thing, because I think, if I'm being real, I have this fear of my role changing into what that looks like, being like a franchise owner, being the person that has to sell franchises, and like, it would just be such a different role for me. That I've definitely pushed the brakes a little bit on it instead of the gas, when I know I should be pushing the gas. But it's just, I got to get rid of that fear and just move forward with it, because that is the next step. Because I, you know,
you kind of hit a ceiling in
I feel like,
that zone, you know?
Like opening 5, I don't know that I have the capacity to do more without somebody else having that financial investment where they care about it the way that I do.
And you need more of you. You need someone else that will own, you know, the Texas locations, or will own the whatever locations, and feel like synonymous in that. But like you being so hands-on to 50 locations is like crazy.
It's impossible.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, especially because you like have a life.
Yeah.
How dare you?
I know.
You have a life. Yeah, it's like it's just not happening.
But that's, you know, you asked about scaling, and you wanted to kind of go into that. And that, I feel like we've scaled and we've scaled and we've scaled. And now we're at a point where I'm like, I haven't ever done this part of scaling before. I'm at a point where it's going to have to be bigger than anything I've done before. And so it's all new. And I'm like, what does that look like?
What does your husband say about all of this? Like, what does he do? Does he just say, like, it's this thing that my wife does, or is he, like, getting sugaring every week, too? Like, what is he doing?
He's definitely, like, more of a manly man. He's literally, like, never been sugared.
He's like, she does something, I don't know. Like,
but
something.
He's super supportive and super proud, and thinks I'm, like, you know.
Really cool.
Just kicking butt.
Yeah, that's because you are.
Opening businesses, and, you know, he's really proud in that way.
Good.
So he's so supportive, and, you know, making sure that we move that entire U-Haul truck from one location to the next, and like fixing stuff at shops, and, you know, because there's all of that goes on day to day. Oh my gosh,
all the time. I'm always like, Ryan, we need more batteries. There's like a lizard in the back. I need you to like take care of this stuff. Like, I can't do that by myself.
I was like dying. We just moved the Port Orange location. I've never relocated a business. It was absolute chaos.
It's almost harder.
It was,
it's like moving. It's like your house moving.
So much harder. I'd rather open a new location any day. So we're like moving everything, and everybody's like pouring in the furniture from the old location. Where do you want this? Where do you want that? I'm like,
I don't care.
I'm like,
put it somewhere.
Yes, just put it down, and everybody get out, please. I needed to be in the space so I could move the furniture around 500 times to figure out where I wanted it. But everybody's like trying to be so helpful. Where do you want this? I'm like, I
literally don't care. Please stop asking me.
But yeah, like, he's so supportive in those ways, and so is our whole team. Like, people's boyfriends are helping. And so it was.
That's always the best.
Yeah,
we love to enlist the husbands.
Yeah,
you know, they need to show up too.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about then managing babies with 5 locations and franchising and the husband, and what does that look like? Is that something that you feel like really confident in now? I know that you mentioned, but you have a unique perspective in having babies really young and having babies like a little bit older. Mm-hmm. The juxtaposition between that, what has that looked like? You were in your teen years when you had your first 2, and then you were in your late 20s when you had your last one?
Yeah.
Okay. And so in that, what does that look like? And then juggling now, the older ones, are they helping drive to practices and making dinner? Like, what does that all look like?
Yeah. It was different for each stage. So like each stage of the business required different, parts of my time and energy. I always have tried to make sure to be there for my kids. Yeah. I don't want them to think that my business is more important than them ever, because it's not.
It's not, yeah.
And so, and I guess being a business owner, I've been able to have that flexibility too, to be like, well, I'm not taking clients because I'm going to my kids, whatever.
Yeah.
But now as the business has grown and we have teams, and, now I can be like, well, I'm going to my kids' thing because the business can run without me physically there.
Yeah.
And so it's just like having a village of people that will help you, like whether it be my mom, my older kids helping pick up and run Riley around, whether that be initially I had like, they coached with me because I also coached cheerleading, and so
that's so
like
fun.
they
That's
were
like my dream job.
our nannies too. Like they would go on vacations with us and help out with Riley, and they would keep her while I was at work, and I always was able to just be in and out of the house, and so I feel like it's important to be there when you can, and so it's looked different in each season. But some days are tough. Because you're like, you get the mom guilt, and you're like, I'm mentally like overwhelmed, or like today's just not the day that I can deal with mom stuff. But you have to. You just have to figure it out. But yeah, really just having a village around you of people that can help. My oldest daughter works at the studio. She is she's front desk. She's amazing.
That's
front desk.
So fun.
Oh
my gosh, like Mama Bear Inception.
Yeah.
Grandma, mom, baby. Like so fun. I love that.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. What advice do you have to a new mom who is maybe in a similar position, who's maybe wanting to go back to work or decides to do pursue a career in beauty because they can be flexible, but they're kind of like in the trenches, which is a lot of our clientele. We have a lot of gals that have babies between like 0 and like 5, and they're going through it. Like, what advice do you have for that mom who's balancing work and their babies?
Yeah. Just don't be too hard on yourself, because everybody, like all of us, we're just out here doing our best. Like, truly, like, and when your kids are teeny babies, they're not going to remember, you know, if you were having an off day. I think it's just about being consistent with them and with pursuing your passion, because if you are doing what you love, you are a happier person. And so I feel like my kids get the best version of me because I love what I do.
That's such a good point, because there's nothing worse than
having a miserable...
Yes. Like, and this, I've actually never talked about this on the podcast, but you know, you hear sometimes these stories of these moms, and I'm not like not knocking anything. I'm just using this as an example. They were this like entrepreneur or like lawyer, whatever, something crazy big and busy and a lot of stress. Then they decide to stay home, and they are only home, and they are miserable because they're not getting fueled anymore by that other side of them, which is like business, being busy, using their brain, like more than just like baby talk all day. And then there is this resentment of, well, you get to go out and go to work all day, and I'm here alone all day. I haven't had an adult conversation in 10 hours, or haven't had to use my brain for anything other than flipping through the channels or whatever. And it's like, that version of you or that version of that mom versus the version of even working 1 or 2 days a week might be a huge difference. And like pouring back into those moms is so important, and like allowing them the space of being their best version.
Yeah.
And that's such a good point of like, you are going to be a better mom when you get to like take care of yourself, obviously, but that goes more than just like face masks and like long showers. Like sometimes that does take more fulfillment. Yeah. Working or not.
I like stimulating like hard things I like accomplishing hard things. Like I don't
just because you become a mom doesn't mean your brain turns off.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think that you know, there are certain types of people that are like cool with that. Yeah. And there's others that feel unfulfilled when they're not accomplishing things. And I think we should definitely create spaces where moms can do both. And like I said, you know, I try and do that for my staff, but also for our clients. Yeah. Like if you need to bring your kid with you to your appointment, like our front desk will watch your kid. Like we do have some policies in place because we don't want things to get crazy, but we have coloring books in the studio.
That's so
we have,
sweet.
you know, like our front desk will hold your baby. Like we've had that happen. And so we just try and create that space for both our clients and our staff because it's hard.
That she can't go do her thing because she has the baby. Right. Like that's not fair. Yeah. That makes me sad.
We're like, no, bring the kid.
Yeah, totally.
Come get sugared. Yeah. Like, have your moment. It's only 30 minutes.
Totally. I was going to say, the appointment's relatively quick.
Yeah, most of our services that we do, like I would say 80% is Brazilians. It's just Brazilian. Yeah. That's our most popular service. But, you know, eyebrows. Lots of eyebrows. Face, full bodies, legs. Yeah. Men, women. Sure. Both. But yes, mostly they're like 30-minute services. Yeah. But we don't rush our services either. Sure. I know a lot of companies in the hair removal industry, it's like 15-minute Brazilians. Like our first Brazilian, we book out for 45 minutes because we want to walk them through it, give them time to adjust, like create that relationship. Yes. We don't want them to feel
intimate.
Yes, right. We don't want them to feel like rushed in, rushed out. Right. And then we bump them down to 30, but we never do 15-minute Brazilians. They're always 30. We book you out for that time, like in case you're running a couple minutes late.
And if you finish early, great.
Yes, exactly. So yeah,
I love that. As far as services offered, I know sugaring obviously is the business. Are there any other services that you're interested in bringing on that are smaller, or are you just like, we know what we're good at, we want to stick with that?
Yeah, you like hit the nail on the head. Mm-hmm. I've had staff in the past like, why don't we try like facials? Why don't we add in
some skin
tinting, eyebrows and things like that? We do one thing and we do it really, really well. Yeah. We put everything we have into sugaring, into being the best at it. And so we've dabbled and we've tried, bringing other stuff in. We've even done like little surveys to our clients. Like, did you like this mask after your Brazilian? Yeah, I love it. Would you pay $20, $25 extra for it? No, not really.
Yeah. And it's like, never mind.
And then too, from a business standpoint, when we can make, $100 to $150 an hour doing a couple Brazilians, or we could do this other service that takes up our time that
for $20.
Yeah,
right.
And so, nope, we just stick to what we're good at, and just keep on rolling.
Yeah, I love that though, and I think that it's good to find a niche. I think that especially in beauty, there are so many places that can kind of do it all, and sometimes what sets you apart is that you are so excellent at fill in the blank. And that is perfect.
And it makes it more easily replicable because
that's so true.
We're not I don't have to train people on 10 different things. I'm training them on this one thing.
Yep.
And so, it's worked for us, especially with that business model that we've established, which is, a sugaring studio.
Right.
And so.
Right. Well, do you have any advice for someone who is maybe in a similar position, who is like, I have this passion, I have this thing, I think it's really special, I don't know where to start? What advice would you have to someone who was you maybe 8-10 years ago? What advice would you give them?
Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Like, doing this, like I said, high school dropout, no college experience. I had no idea what I was doing, but every time I knew I needed to get something done. I just figured out how to do it. Yeah. Whether that be find a mentor, the SBDC is an amazing business resource. Like I said, going to like CEO exchanges. Originally, it was called the Growth Exchange. Going to, be in community with other business owners so that you can learn from them, ask them, like, don't be afraid to ask questions. You don't look like an idiot.
Sure.
Anybody that thinks that you are, then Haters. They are not worth it anyways. Right. And just be willing to like ask questions and do the hard things, because ultimately, if you want something, you have to make it happen. Right. And there's been so many things throughout this experience where I'm like, I definitely had no idea how to do this, but I just figured out how to make it happen. Yeah. And I've learned so much, just having a good team of people around me, whether that be like attorney and realtor and banker, and you have to have all of those really
like outsourced type of people.
Yes. Yeah. You have to realize that you cannot do what you don't know how to do.
You can't copyright and do legal and do whatever. It's too much.
Insurance. You have to have your people too, and develop relationships with them so that they're with you through, I've used the same attorney, like I said, since the beginning. Like my insurance person, she insures all my things. I have people and I can call them. Like literally I could walk out and be like, hey, I have a question. Right. And they're just, we've built that relationship. So just find people that you trust, put one foot in front of the other. Just be willing to put yourself out there and just hustle, really.
Yeah, seriously. Because it's all you. You got to make it happen. What advice do you have for someone who is new to sugaring or maybe wants to get into it, like a technical piece of advice?
Ooh. It's hard.
Yeah.
People think it's easy. They watch the videos and they're like, ooh, I can
just
do
rub
this.
It around. I'm like, no, it's so much more than that.
It is. So one, don't give up.
Yeah.
Two, there's a lot of bad technique out there. So don't just watch TikTok videos and try it at home.
Right.
I think that, really learning from somebody who has experience, you can really cause a lot of issues for people if you don't know what you're doing and you try and just jump out there and be good at it.
Right.
You really have to hone in on that skill. Otherwise, you're causing a ton of damage to the skin and the hair follicles
and it's
things
uncomfy.
That. Yeah. It's much safer, much more effective, all natural. There are so many benefits to sugaring over waxing. But if it's done incorrectly, then all those benefits go out the window.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, any other tips or advice or any other final messages you want to leave our listeners today, or any advice?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me on. I think it was so fun coming to do the community spotlight. That should be going out on our social media soon. So, so thank you, and make sure you stop in at a Mama Bear Sugaring Studio.
Share it with everyone where to find you, and if they want to work for you, how they can do that, how they can set themselves apart. Plug yourself. Tell everyone.
Okay, Mama Bear Sugaring Studio on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We do hire right out of school. We hire people in all age brackets, and so if you want to be part of the team, just email us at Team Mama Bear, and definitely come check out one of our studios. We have 5 locations: Port Orange, Ormond Beach, DeLand, Lake Mary, and Oviedo.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, thank you so much, and it was so fun chatting with you. You have struck gold in this industry and in this kind of pocket of business, and I can't wait to see them all over the country, and I can't wait to see it grow, and you have something really special, and you should be really proud of yourself. So great job. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you like our video. If you have any questions, let us know, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.